and welcome back to another episode of Brilliantly Resilient Live. I'm Kristin Smedley. I'm here with my buddy Mary Fran Bontempo, and we were already having so much fun with our guests that we're like, wait a minute, maybe we should record and share this with the rest of you. We've got our new buddy, and I'm saying new buddy, so sorry, Victor, you're now stuck with us for the rest of your life.
Committed.
We're having too much fun.
We don't go away.
Victor Pisano, and he is with Charge Up Today. And okay, I'm going to let Victor just introduce himself and what he says, because I could go on and on and on for the full episode about all the cool things he does and why I was so excited when he came into our journey. So Victor, thank you so much for being here. And let's tell the folks a little bit about yourself and what you do now.
Absolutely. So I'm excited because I woke up resilient. And now I'm brilliantly resilient. So like right off the bat, I am pumped up. So for me, Charge Up is a passion project. It is not my career. It is not my full-time gig. It is 100% pay it forward from the heart, working with student athletes from across the country, high schools, colleges, and really zooming in on leadership and teaching them that we all have a leader within. It has nothing to do with rank, title, or authority. It has everything to do with influence, and they have the ability to influence positively. And one of the things I really push is a superpower for them is gratitude, because with gratitude, so many things follow and so many incredible things can occur to build your life forever, because the sport does not define you. And that's what's been fun, is watching your past episodes and seeing the discussions that you have with people. I see so much similarities in how we feel about just the human connection. So I'm so excited to be a part of this.
I was just going to say, well, we're excited to have you, because in our conversation prior to starting to record and just now, you're hitting so many of our PowerPoints, of our brilliance bombs, the things that we reiterate to people over and over. Number one of which is it sounds trite, I guess, but you have everything you need. It's already here. Mm-hmm. We tend to forget, we tend to not name it. But then you help people bring it out. So the way we usually run the show, we talk about people who've had to reset, and then the rise, and then the reveal. So did you have a point where you had this sucker punch and you found yourself having to reset?
Absolutely. In fact, it is what invented Charge Up. So there's an incredible quote that I always refer to from Mark Twain, and he says, the two most important days in a person's life are the day they're born and the day they find out why. And for me, I found my why out at 48 years old. So it'll be 3 years tomorrow on April 30th where I got my sucker punch. My life changed forever. I was at a meeting, received a phone call that my father was being rushed to the hospital with a heart attack. Wow. So I immediately got in my car, hauled over there, and I was too late. He had already passed. Aww. And, I distinctively remember I was in such despair, crying. And all I could really think about was, how do I process life without him? As an Italian, family is everything, period. And the girls, my sister is the princess. And of course, girls with mothers, sons with fathers. He was a life teacher. He was a coach. He was a mentor. He's everything to me. Absolutely my hero. And he was the person that I would call every day. It was always my wife and then my father. Aww. And I couldn't get it. And I struggled for months just trying to just understand how this was going to work moving forward. And the problem was I wasn't being vulnerable. I wasn't listening to the outside. And finally, enough people in my inner circle were like, you've changed. You've got to fix this, because I wasn't social. Mm-hmm. I started getting a little bit of a temper. I wouldn't let anybody in. It was obvious now that I had a mask on. Mm-hmm. And I had to push forward. So I agreed to go to counseling. And after about 6 months, I really came to the realization that I needed to reset. I had to do it because it was destroying my uniqueness. It was destroying what was my personality. And I'm telling you, in 4 weeks, through self-awareness exercises, learning about myself, like I had to come back and I had to learn what my fears were, my insecurities, the reality of the situation, which was my father was no longer in my life. Mm-hmm. And even though it was a difficult period, I knew I had to discover it alone. And the beauty of it is my family also understood, and they respected that space.
Wow.
Because they knew I was invested in counseling. They knew I was invested in trying to make the change and find out what my truth was. And it was crazy because it slowly started coming to me of what I needed to do. And part of that was, first of all, be human, live the emotion. I felt this Italian machismo of don't cry, don't be
From a
sad.
family of Italian people, I know what that's like.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
You're there to comfort.
And meanwhile, the women were all tearing our hair out, going, "Oh my God!" Everybody's screaming their heads off, and the men are going, "No, you get it."
Yeah, it's the truth. And I was trying to be the comforter. I was trying to be the person who was strong and could get through this. And again, you say the word counseling. Oh, I don't need counseling. Like I just need a couple of days. I absolutely needed counseling. 100%. I'm such a proponent of it now because it made me stop and realize that I needed to relearn who I was. And if it took such a tragic event to do so, then so be it. But it was a beautiful, beautiful experience.
Wow. Well, you're really speaking to my heart, Victor, because my dad just had a huge health scare just a week and a half ago. And I could not, I was kind of in that place. Like, I mean, I was texting everyone I knew to start praying because I thought I cannot lose this man at this point. He sounds so much like your dad with the mentoring and the coach. And I talk to him every day and he's always for the underdog. And he's just like my guy, so my heart is fluttering listening to you.
Well, where I was so privileged and lucky, and these are the gems you pull out of self-awareness and discovery. Over my career, after graduating from Texas A&M, I was blessed to work with him for close to 10 years. He was one of the founders of Hermano's Macaroni Grill, which started in San Antonio back in 1985.
Oh, wow.
So when I graduated from college, I went in and said, hey, let's try the restaurant business, and was working with some other restaurants all within the same area. So many of the lessons that I teach today not only come from my childhood and how he would teach me the phases of guided discovery, but it came from watching him lead others. He was a servant leader before that term ever came about. Now it's so niche to say, but my father absolutely put others first, so much so that when Brinker International purchased Macaroni Grill, they made him in charge of culture. And he went to every single restaurant and spent time one-on-one with the general managers and all the staff and teaching them that every single one of them play a valuable role. Whether you're bussing a table, you're a sous chef, or you're the general manager, you are all equal. The business cards said somebody. They didn't have titles, and it was somebody, because if you ever heard somebody needs to take the trash out, guess what? You're somebody. If you hear somebody needs to run the numbers, guess what? You're somebody. Don't worry about titles. Like, just give of yourself, find joy, enjoy what you do. But he took so many young adults, and when he passed, and just the outpouring of letters and texts, your father taught me, your father taught me. And that's where I began to discover I could carry his torch. Like, if I could just take that, that's my mission. That's my purpose. So to Mark Twain, that was my why.
Wow. So you actually uncovered your brilliance in that whole sucker punch and all that you had been in your role model your whole life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I came to the realization that I needed to keep his spirit alive. And I had complete control of that. And how I would do it was taking his lessons, combining them with what I've learned today, being both John Maxwell certified as well as John Gordon. I'm a leadership nerd. I love talking about that. And if I could carry those lessons through and look at it in a big picture form, that was without a doubt my rise. I found that I could take his spirit and carry it through. So in my mind and in my words and in my actions, he's still with me every single day. And I look at it, we really started and went live in July of 2018. And I thought it was just going to be blogs. And it turned from blogs to blogs, podcasts, video pieces, social media posts, and then my favorite thing, which is speaking. So in just 2 years, we've had about 5,000 pieces of social media, 250 blogs and podcasts. But more importantly than anything is I've been so blessed because there's been a little more than 80 speaking engagements, but over 4,000 people. And my father used to always say, when you're talking in a room, your only goal is for one person to listen. Mm-hmm. And it's so true. It doesn't matter if there's 1,000 people out there or 20. If I can get one person to listen, then we're perfect. Everything is set. I just need to change one person's thought process. So absolutely, that was my rise.
One of the things that really resonates with me about what you said is that you, and I don't know that we've really talked about this before, that you felt the need to sit with this. We've talked about the fact that you have to feel it, but you talk about feeling it alone. Like you had to feel that alone. And, we talk a lot about tribe. Kristin and I are huge, tribe and get with the people. But I do think there is an element of whenever you experience that kind of a sucker punch, you have to figure out what it means to you before you figure out what it means in the greater context of the world. You have to figure out how has this affected me? This is about me on some level. And what does that mean?
I think there's one thing that lacks that I really try to teach with the student athletes is they don't even know what the word solace means. And I tell them that in order to discover what your purpose is and the gifts that you have and what you can bring and contribute, there has to be times of solace where you just have silent thought with no distractions. And today it is so difficult to have no distractions. But I love it because my no distraction is every morning at 6 a.m. from 6 to 6:30, where I'm just quiet in my thoughts. And I feel healthy by doing that because it's just me and it's just my thoughts. And when I go back to thinking about when I was fighting that demon, if it weren't for those personal thoughts in the space that everybody was kind enough to give me, I don't think I would have realized that gratitude was the vessel that would take me away from grief. Because there were other people who wanted to give me their opinion, but I needed to find my opinion. Yeah. And that's why that solace, that time, just me was so important. But don't get me wrong, my brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, my family, like they were right there on the sideline. And like, whenever you're ready, we're here. We're right here for you.
And that's the beauty of it's a beauty of a supportive tribe, because they know when, and they don't take it personally when you say, I just need some time and space to figure this out. And they're there to give it to you. That's the tribe that you want around you. The people that will step back when you need them to step back and help when you need them to help.
Mary Fran, you hit the nail on the head, because I think so many of them wanted to tell me that I needed alone time, and I figured out, and I think they all took a deep breath and were like, okay, good.
They were probably all like, thank God we can let this guy go for a little while. I know so many people in my life would be like, oh, thank God she's leaving us alone. Like, just get out of my face for a little bit.
Well, I had the opposite. With Mary Fran is in my tribe, and she was the one that said, because in my divorce, I was like, she was there the night that I hit full rock bottom. And I'm like, I can't be alone. I cannot be. I've always had it was 19 years I was married, even though it wasn't all that pretty at all. But I was like, I always have kids around. I'm always in the midst of a million things. And I said, I can't. And Mary Fran's like, but you have to. You have to figure out being by yourself and then sort it all out and then come out, because you can't keep going out in the world without, I was all over the place and was afraid to sit there in that moment that you did. God, we have so many similarities, but you did it way better than me. I was so.
You don't know that.
I'm
You
just
don't
going
know
to say
that.
that right out. She was like just a complete mess.
Yeah.
But you know what I think the thing is, there's a fear that a lot of people have that if they step back, people will go away. And some people will, but they're the ones that it's fine if they go away. And that's what you need to teach these kids.
I agree with you 100%. If you want to discover your inner circle, go through adversity.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you hit adversity and all of a sudden you realize that you don't get dropped off at the top of the mountain, like you really do have to climb up it. You
Mm-hmm.
want to see how many people are really willing to put their hand to help pull you up. And it was a beautiful thing because I thought my inner circle was like this. And when my father passed and everything I went through, so many people came out of the woodworks that I go back to the word gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
I have complete like faith in the fact that what he achieved is why I'm a junior. I mean, I'm Victor Pisano Jr. It was named after him. It is my job. It is my purpose. And to this day, I have so many of the family members who are like, you are turning out just like your father. And that's like receiving an Academy Award every single time I hear that. There is no better thing you could ever tell me, ever. And that's the joy in it, is because I feel like every one of us in some form or fashion not have a responsibility. We have an obligation to pay it forward.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to do good things to people. We've got to make society a place where doing the little things are a habit. And one of the barriers that I see young adults face is it's uncomfortable sometimes to show gratitude. And the first lesson I tell them is to be successful in anything you do, you've got to learn to become comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, when you can do an act of kindness, it's when that feeling comes in your stomach of, God, I would do that, but I'd be embarrassed because I'm with my friends. But when you feel that, run, like go do it. And now it's funny. I'll be with my kids. We'll be at the grocery store. We see some lady trying to get something way up high. And it's almost like a movie because we look at each other to see who's going to make it faster. And then we all just go. But it's like, I'm so glad I've taught them the same thing.
Yeah.
But an act of kindness doesn't cost money. It doesn't take tremendous planning. It's right in front of you. Open your eyes. Look for it. It's all around us.
So let me ask you a question. It just struck me when you were saying that some of these kids may be like not quite able to jump on the gratitude train and the kindness train. Do you think that that's because they feel there's a level of vulnerability in showing that sensitive heart that you need to have? Do you see that with when you talk to these young kids? Do you feel like because there's they're still trying to figure out who they are and there's an image thing? So how does that fit?
Absolutely. It's the weird thing is it's a fear of the unknown. Like, what happens if I do this? Am I going to look foolish? And it's teaching them to just be you. If you feel it, then just act upon it. And the problem is, I mean, look at kids now. They'll take 10 pictures and then that perfect one is the one they post on social media.
Yeah.
They kind of live their life the same way. They'll look at a situation and think, how will it make me look? How will it make me feel? And you got to teach them that you need to have no expectations. Like, don't expect anything in return. Just do the act. And so what I'll do is I'll actually take them through guided discovery. They won't even know what they're doing, but it is an act of kindness. It is a gesture of gratitude. And when it's done, they're like, oh my God, that felt so good. And I was like, imagine doing it on your own. And the example I give them is one thing that I learned, and that was when you go to bed at night, write 5 things that you're grateful for. And don't include the roof over my head or my family, the obvious things that I hope you already hold close to you. And some of them can't get to 2. And I'm like, that's an opportunity for you to take the blinders off and look around you.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've gone from speaking to so many universities that just stopped on March the 12th. So we moved to Zoom, and I'm telling every one of them, I'm like, if you've ever wanted a competitive advantage, like, now is the time, because so many people are going to fall in their comfort zone. This is where you grow. right here. Discover the ways to do things. And, you know, I get notes from athletes and they're telling me these projects they're doing, and I'll highlight one. I have one university whose softball team created signs. And what they did is they called a senior living facility and said, would you mind if we set these signs out? We'll just be in and we'll be out. They said, send pictures of them. They said, okay. So they go and do them, and then they send me the picture. And all they are beautifully colored signs. We're thinking of you. We love you. Have a wonderful day. And they set them not for the street to see, but for the windows facing outward for each of the residents to see. And I'm like, you get it. Like, that's exactly it. It didn't take you much time, and it was a simple thing, but you have no clue how much joy that's going to bring every single one of those residents. And it goes further. Their families, the administration, the faculty, the doctors, the nurses.
Yeah.
You've affected so many people in one act.
And they affected themselves, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's game changing for them. But my dad's been in a care facility. He's actually coming home today. And from
that's great.
Side of that now, we are a family that I have family that can't get there because of everything happening. So for all those families that could not get there and bring that smile to their family member, and those kids did that. And the kids probably were like, it's posters, big deal. But there's so much to it. Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
I get excited because so many people say, oh, these millennials, these Generation X. I'm like, you raised them.
Yeah.
What are you freaking out about? They're your kids. If you've got someone 14 to 25, you know, it all starts at home.
But honestly, that's a great point, because I've been so worried. I mean, I have two blind sons that are 20 and almost 17. So they've lived, my daughter that is sighted and she's almost 16. They've lived through adversity. They were born, you know, uncovering their resilience from very beginning. But so many of my very good friends, I'm like, you guys, I was getting nervous for these kids they can't figure anything out because they've never had to. What is going to happen when life gets them? But now they collectively have to figure it out together. So, I mean, not that there's we had someone on the other day that's talking about create silver linings. And this is the one silver lining for this generation, that they're having to figure some stuff out. And I'm so grateful that you are in the leadership with a lot of these kids to walk them through this, because the families don't know what to do now.
And that's what's created the fear of failure. And that's the number one issue that every athlete faces. And even though we really push that their sport does not define who they are, they still feel that their value is based on their performance. And it's a very difficult, challenging thing, especially when you look at a high school athlete who is striving to play in college. It's constant by looking at social media and comparing themselves to everything they see. And you've got to teach them to have belief in themselves. It's your journey. It's not our journey. It's your journey. Don't look at your competition. Just focus on you. And it is a struggle with them. And social media can be a wonderful tool, but it can also be a very distancing tool, distancing you from who you really are, because the comparison and the exaggeration by some people, it's a struggle with them. It really is a struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got my daughter that I mentioned is a top athlete, and she's one that everybody compares themselves to. And she struggled years ago with perfectionism and having to be the best because she's known as the best. And it got so bad that she wouldn't try anything new because she wasn't the best at it. And we literally almost had a wrestling match, her and I, at the top of a mountain for skiing. There go her blind brothers skiing down the mountain. And she was little, and she was so upset that she was refusing to try because she knew she wasn't really good at it for the beginning. And we had to really work through that. I'll never forget being freezing cold, sitting at the top of that mountain, starting out in a lovely tantrum, and then wrapping up the day with, she finally did try it. And little by little, she got better and better. And we always come back to that because she had started out really great at her sports, and she didn't have that whole thing. But it's a tricky one for the kids that are at the top. And then they got to go to the next level, and they're not the best ones anymore. And then they got to rethink, you know?
That's wonderful, Kristin, because what you're talking about is it's on both perspectives. It's perfectionism and it's fear of failing. So it's everything in between, which is pretty much everybody. So it goes to show that we can all invest something within ourselves, which is what y'all do on this show, to help guide, help navigate. I tell athletes all the time, I'm not here to teach you the X's and the O's. I played baseball. I played football. I absolutely loved it. Unfortunately, for me to run the 40 now, I need a golf cart. But what I am going to teach you is I'm going to kind of teach you how to be that GPS inside your phone. I want you to have wide lanes. I want you to have big curbs to bounce off of, but I at least want that moral compass to go in the right direction. And you'll have every resource and every tool, but sometimes you got to reach out. And vulnerability and asking for help, it's not a weakness, it's a strength. Mm-hmm. So I think, what each of you do and the commitment you've made, especially the fact that you want to grow, that means your community is going to grow. More people are going to have this visible. They're going to be able to learn lessons from it. I think it's a phenomenal thing what y'all are doing. Phenomenal thing. Because everybody, young or old, has to discover again to believe in themselves. We all fall in that trap. And the more resources we have, the more things that are prominent out there in our lives that can remind us that we do have a unique gift, the better.
And I'm sure you'll agree with Mary Fran's philosophy. She always says that you guys, we're just not teaching anything new. We're just here talking. You have this, like, people think they have to go learn and just, we say you discover and uncover your resilience. It's there. Everything is already built in. She's going to go right into her Wizard of Oz movie because she loves it so much. Dorothy, it's been here all along. She always gets into that. But it's true.
I am going to be Glinda the Good Witch on one of these episodes. I'm just telling you right now, there's going to be the whole pink dress and the crown and the wand. You've had the power all along, Dorothy.
Should add that to the webinar.
I love it already. Let me know when y'all start casting.
Oh my gosh, you're going to be my cowardly lion. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
This COVID thing, trust me, you have no clue how much mousse is in this hair to keep it down. I look like an Italian mobster if I put it out. It's horrible. So I can play that easily without anything on my head.
We're talking to the girl in her hats now until the salon's open. This is like.
But I'm taking pride in your hats. You're representing. I've seen a lot of Eagles. I see the Penn State. You're representing. I like that.
Well, I have to tell you, this has been such a delightful conversation. And again, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I am half Italian and I have a whole slew of my family from South Philly. And you are so representative of all of the best parts of the Italian men who are in my life. He's in my paisan. Hey, Victor Pisano, he's in my paisan. So thank you for joining us. But tell everybody where they can find you, because your messages, you hit on every single thing.
Yeah, I want my daughter to tune in. That's what I was thinking the whole time. Tell me where she can tune in.
Where can we find
I want you to be her coach.
Consider it done. You consider it done. So on all social media, it's at Charge Up Today, but the website is www.chargeuptoday.com. But from YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you name it. I refuse to do TikTok. I'm not dancing.
No, me either.
That's where I draw the line.
It drives my daughter crazy, but my dogs are doing very well on TikTok.
Okay. So at least you're involved. You can add that to the list of what Brilliantly Resilient does. We also have dog on TikTok, so you're fine. But I welcome it. And there's a place there for questions, advice, and nothing I do has you don't have to pay for anything. Like if I was given the gift to try to inspire you, the value is you accepting it. So it's the joy I take in it, just like each of you do.
I love it. And when you send out new things and create new things, and if it seems like it would be beneficial, because I know that you're in our Brilliantly Resilient group on Facebook. Share that because
absolutely,
I'm loving your whole philosophy, especially give thought to those of us with student athletes and what you can share that would really help us, especially as we're journeying through this. Colleges might not open and sports are canceled and there's a lot going on with our kids. So I appreciate your work and want to see more of it.
So the gift you've given me is, with April 30th, being the death of my father for 3 years, being able to share my story brings me gratitude. So when we talk about a gratitude list, I know tonight I'm going to put Brilliantly Resilient as number one on my gratitude list because I was able to share the story. So I want to thank both of you for giving me the opportunity.
Oh, you're
Well,
the best.
it has been a delight. It really and truly has. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I look forward to talking again soon. I'm going to get you two on the Charge Up talk. How about that?
Oh yeah, we're
Oh,
there.
You
yeah.
can be brilliantly resilient as well as charged up.
We're there. Oh, she's charged up all the time.
That's what I
So
was
we
like,
are there.
I'm like,
Done.
all right, that's my kind of thing. Mary Fran's like, oh God, please be caffeinated that day.
I rock back and forth
By
at
the
least
way,
12 times a day.
I'm sorry, Mary Fran, but I'm coffee.
That's okay.
Okay.
As long as I drink coffee too, but it's got to be decaf. I can't. The two of us caffeinated would be a very bad thing. Very bad.
The Italians
He has
got to
a
have
good,
the
he has a good
espresso in the
effect.
morning.
He's had a good effect on me. You got me nice and calm and focused and thinking, and that's good stuff. So, and then all right.
You're going to be on my speed dial then, Victor.
Consider it done. Consider it done.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Brilliantly Resilient Live. Go check out Victor and Charge Up today on all of his social media and his website. It is good stuff, and we are so grateful that he was here today. And we'll see all of y'all on the next episode of Brilliantly Resilient Live.